Hello and good afternoon. This is David. I'm a solutions architect with Dundas Data Visualization. And today what I want to do is talk to you a little bit about some stories on how to maximize your business intelligence return on investment. Specifically, I want to talk about three major types of returns on your investment. And I'll be going through some scenarios, including ones that are talking about the advertising industry, the energy industries, and the banking industry. Okay, so first I'd like to talk about this company here, Neo at Ogilvy, and really what they are is they are Ogilvy and Mather's global media agency, and they are also their performance marketing network. So what they do is they employ more than 800 digital experts in 40 offices worldwide, and really what you can see really their reach here throughout the world. So what they're doing here is some of their key values are to help build their clients' brands and to help drive the advertising performance and really to keep their clients at the forefront of their fields. And so when we're thinking about really their history, they were again founded in 2006, and in the last 5 years they really have grown quite substantially. So now, when Ogilvy and Mather launched Neo at Ogilvy in 2006, what they wanted to do was really to help clients organize and relate complex consumer information so that they can make some time-sensitive decisions, monitor emerging trends, and course correct rapidly, as well as jump on any new business opportunities. So you can really understand the need for having some deep insight and to be agile here. So in 2011, the Neo at Ogilvy London office wanted to improve their existing reporting processes in order to match some increasing demands of managing global digital media campaigns for their clients. In order to achieve this, Neo at Ogilvy invested in a more advanced business intelligence solution and needed a data presentation platform to expose the reporting data housed in their data warehouse. So initially what they did was many of the reporting processes were actually done in Excel. They did implement a Microsoft SQL Server to manage the agency's data a bit more effectively, but they still needed a solution to expose that data to their clients and account teams. So really when we're thinking about the issues that they were facing, they really needed something that is industry leading. Again, thinking about really what the brand of Neo at Ogilvy really is to, if you want to help your clients be at the forefront, well, you yourself really should be at the forefront of what you're doing. So they needed something that really reflected that in their presentation layer. And what's happening is that at the same time, their reporting processes were fairly labor intensive. So when we're looking at why they chose Dundas, Owen Ball here, the analytics manager at Neo at Ogilvy, he's talking about how the fact that Dundas Dashboard gives them the ability to create dashboards that are pixel perfect, that are completely tailored to what they need for their clients. That's something that is really key in differentiating us as it relates to what is important to Neo at Ogilvy. So, when we're thinking about how things would actually go from a sketch, something like this, to something that is a bit more, fleshed out to the actual production, the actual, what actually comes to life at the end of the day, it really is something that can be fairly close to what the initial design is. The idea is that you should really let design drive your dashboards rather than having the technology itself be, forcing you to change your requirements. So, when it comes to starting off with a particular design and then changing to something that's quite different, that's really something that is definitely possible within Dundas Dashboard. You do have a lot of control over the various different nuances, the various different properties, the various different behaviors and interactivities that you can do on the dashboard. And when we're thinking about branding, we actually have quite a substantial amount of properties that you can use to really customize the appearance of Dundas Dashboard, to really white label this if you are using it in that capacity. And this is something that really is important, again, for somebody like Neo at Ogilvy. The fact that they were able to brand it specific to each different client was something that is key. So something from, let's say, changing the loading icon, from the default to whatever you'd like to be your own, or changing the about screen to whatever you'd like to be your own, or perhaps even the actual page itself to show your not only your logo but also the name that would be appropriate for your particular deployment. That's all completely in your control. Again, the idea is that this is a platform that is going to allow you to custom make everything about your dashboard. So really the solution here that we're looking at is the fact that they created these various different dashboards for their clients that were, again, tailored. And at the same time, they found with the success of that they were able to then deploy additional dashboards internally within the organization. So really, Neo at Ogilvy wanted an interface that it could brand and customize for each client. So using Dundas Dashboard, they provided clients with a branded dashboard that appears as if it had been built specifically for them, right? And that it can be accessed, of course, anywhere where there's a web connection. So this really is something that is key for Neo at Ogilvy here. And as a result, what happened was that they were able to streamline a lot of their reporting processes, and this allowed them to sort of free up time for the individuals who were previously spending time working on those reports and spreadsheets, etc. So what we found is that there was quite a substantial difference in what they were doing before and what they were doing after in terms of the amount of time spent here. So they did initially spend 40 hours, and then afterwards they ended up spending only 4 per week on a particular account. So this difference is actually quite substantial, 36% or about a 90% difference here in terms of the amount of time that you spend. And with some assumptions here, we are looking at 5 digits that you are saving per year. So when we're thinking about things that you could be doing with manual processes in terms of what you're doing with Excel, you can think really about this particular scenario where what you're doing is actually saving quite a substantial amount just by adding dashboards to your BI stack here. Now, this is actually quite reminiscent of this other case study here with Eggborough Power, which is a company that has been supplying electricity to the national grid in the UK since 1967. And what they do is they use a variety of methods to generate electricity, such as using turbines and boilers, biomass, and fuel ash. And what they do is they generate about 2,000 megawatts of electricity, which is enough to power about 2 million homes there. And in order to run efficiently, the staff at Eggborough need to make sure that there really is no waste, especially if you're working at this capacity here. So really what happened there was that they needed to monitor the performance of their plants, again, just to make sure that there's no anomalies in the data that they are collecting. And this is again sort of a manual task that they were undergoing. And the reason why they chose us, of course, is that they couldn't really find anything that could deploy as quickly as Dundas Dashboard. So at the end of the day, what they ended up doing was creating a visual monitoring solution to examine this kind of efficiency and performance metrics for each unit within the organization here as it relates to those key metrics. And again, we're looking at, of course, the similar benefits, right, where you're looking at automating a process that was previously quite manual, right, and in order to simplify that or streamline that, what they end up finding is that they were able to save quite a substantial amount here. So 600,000 pounds, which is approximately 1 million US. So when we're thinking about the return on investment as it relates to these two case studies, we can see how by streamlining manual processes with Dundas Dashboard, you are able to find some significant cost reductions. So that's really the first idea that I want to drive home today, is the fact that there is quite a lot of manual tasks that are still out there, and you can replace quite a good amount of them with these kinds of dashboards where you are able to essentially achieve the same thing, if not something better, as we'll discuss later. And of course, the end result is that you will have some good cost reductions. So I'd like to move on to talking about Choice Logistics here. And what they are is a global leader in critical inventory logistics. Okay, so they provide customized solutions that meet the high availability requirements of global high-tech manufacturers, global high-growth technology innovators, and third-party providers. So what they do is they provide services and infrastructures that enable companies to develop and deliver premium support offerings. Okay, so if you have anything that's needed really last minute, anything that's urgently needed, they'll take care of your logistics chain for you. So they are, again, quite widespread in a similar sense to how Neo at Ogilvy had quite a substantial amount of reach. Again, with that 24 hours availability, that is really key to the value add that Choice Logistics has here. So they are spanning, again, 420 locations across almost 80 countries here, and they do reach quite worldwide here. So all of North America, they have about 48. In Latin America, they have 16 countries, 48 countries in EMEA. In Asia Pac, 15 countries, and everything all added together, they do have quite a good reach around the world, as you can see here. So this is really quite a substantial amount of data that they'd be looking at, of course, and they really do need to make sure that they are meeting those commitments of 99% of the time that they are able to deliver what they say that they really should be doing, especially if we're talking about time-sensitive deliveries here. So when we're thinking about the problems that they were encountering, a lot of the reporting was fairly anecdotal, and what was happening is that each individual analyst would have their own report, and it wouldn't be very fact-based. It would be based off of the analyst's anecdotes. So on top of that, what would happen is that there would be sort of a lack of unified visuals across the not only internally but also externally to both ends of the supply chain, right? So looking backwards towards their vendors and forwards towards their clients. So there was sort of a gap here that really needed to be addressed, and the reason why they chose us in particular was because of the one of the reasons would be our technical support team. And so this is something that is actually complemented of Dundas data visualization quite often. Although our support team promises a 48-hour turnaround, we typically respond within 24 hours. Within the developer community, this is one of the characteristics that stands out for Dundas. Really, how responsive our support team is, and really how complete the responses are. So, not only did the features of the platform align with what Choice Logistics wanted to accomplish, but they also didn't want something that was very proprietary in terms of how it functioned. They wanted something that integrated quite well with their Microsoft SQL Server data warehouse. So when you think about how Dundas Dashboard works, the fact that everything is really brought into a centralized point, which is Dundas Dashboard, and that would be something that would then speak to your various different data sources. We are quite flexible in terms of how we would fit in with existing infrastructures. In fact, this is something that I've very seldom found an issue with talking with our clients, is how we fit with their architecture. They have quite a varied setup. Some they have it on virtual machines, some have it in-house, some have it hosted outside, and because of how this architecture works, because everything is fairly modularized, everything there isn't very deep dependencies. We do find that integrating with existing platforms works quite well for us. So what happens at the end of the day with Choice Logistics is the fact that they did engage us for our professional services in terms of best practices. I mean, we have been in the data visualization industry for about 20 years now, and the fact that we do have some experience, obviously, in designing dashboards. We're able to engage with them and talk about best practices as it relates to visual design, not only of individual charts but also of full dashboards, right? So if we're thinking about interacting with a particular part of the dashboard, or even just choice of charts, or having things flow more smoothly, having things be more intuitive, eliminating any kind of noise on the dashboard. All of that is really key to design best practices here. And when we're thinking about how they were rolling it out, oftentimes this is also how many of our clients roll it out. They first start with perhaps an internal dashboard. Here they were looking at, talking about cost of sale, having it be perhaps with management, and then they would subsequently roll it out upon the success of that first dashboard or first phase of your project, and have that include some additional metrics and really kind of broaden the scope there. And again, this is really typical of how our clients do engage us. Because oftentimes, it is their first dashboard, and to have your very first experience with building out a dashboard be something that you would create for perhaps your executive team, that might be a bit too much of a risk that you would want to take on. And so for the first engagement, this is why we would want to be engaged here, is the fact that we do have that experience and we can pass it on to you through training, but really for the very first engagement that you do want us involved, just to make sure that everything looks the way that it needs to be. So some of the key benefits here is that prior to implementing Dundas Dashboard, the team never looked at each ticket as an individual transaction. They only looked at it as an individual transaction. They never looked at it in terms of trends. So Dundas Dashboard has helped Choice Logistics see areas for improvement that they otherwise wouldn't have identified. At the same time, of course, the client perception of Choice Logistics really has improved. Ever since implementing Dundas Dashboard, the clients see that they are a much more progressive company that's providing additional tools to help out the clients, and as well as being very transparent. That is something that is important with business intelligence these days, is to have that sort of openness, not only with your clients but also with your suppliers as well. And this is really the way that many different industries are headed as it relates to business intelligence here. And likewise, as we've seen with some of the previous cases, the trend of being able to automate some of the processes, being able to save money that way, save time, that is something that is, again, happening across all industries. So if this is not something that you're looking at right now, you are at a risk of falling behind. So Robert Bakke here, the Senior VP of Information Systems at Choice Logistics, really has this to say about his engagement with us, is the fact that they were so used to using spreadsheets, and it's hard to blame them. That's really what they grew up with. That's what they're used to. That's really all that they can think of. And to make that leap in going from something that is tabular to something more visual was a little bit challenging for them, which is why they did engage us with that particular phase of their project. So really having the subject matter expertise for, say, your business, that will be something that will be your side of the collaboration, and our side of the collaboration is going to be data visualization, and that's how we can work together. Similarly, of course, working previously with AstraZeneca, this is really their experience as well. The fact that they are taking care of their data and their metrics, and we are taking care of the actual data visualizations. This is where we are experts in, and this is where we're going to deliver value for you. So again, thinking about Robert's words here, if we were to say that you're going to gain insight from looking at data more visually, that is really the key return on investment here, is that you are going to see things that you otherwise might not have seen if you were looking at things in just tabular format or just raw numbers by themselves. The Great Southern Bank is a bank that started in Missouri, and what they do is they offer one-stop shopping with a comprehensive lineup of financial services that give customers more choices for their money. And they have been in operation since the 1920s, and they have quite a large reach. Again, in terms of households, it's 137,000. And they do have $3.6 billion in assets. So they're not a small bank. When we're looking at where they originally started out, again, it is in Missouri right here. And if we think about really all those various different locations that they would be deploying out to, where this would be impacting, they have about nearly 100 branches in Missouri and nearby regions. And it would take really 2 staff members 2 full days to create the reports and scorecards that would be needed to monitor operations and analyze the business. So initially, they only thought that they needed dashboards for the president, but then they saw other ways that they could benefit the organization. So again, very similar to what we've heard previously in some of these other cases. So what we were seeing there is that the paper processes, again, with what they were handling, how they're handling new accounts there, it was quite slow and error-prone. And the internal portal was quite difficult to use, and as well the reporting process is quite labor intensive, as I mentioned there, with the 2 days and 2 full-time staff working on that. So why did they choose us? Well, the fact that you can build new dashboards or modify dashboards in a very intuitive way is really key for Katie Turnmeyer here. The fact that really it's a sort of what you see is what you get, and you have again that finite control over everything on the dashboard. That was really what was the key driver. So what's happening here in terms of their deployment is that they were able to empower people to really ask the key questions and to get the key answers with their dashboards. And on top of that, they were able to get some individualized consulting from us, again, as it relates to performance practices. So this is slightly different from the data visualization best practices, where that one's more focused on the actual presentation. This is more focused on sort of optimizing your actual dashboards to make sure that they are as responsive and quick and snappy as they really need to be. Lastly, of course, we did deliver training in a very similar format to what you're experiencing today. So we don't have to come on site, although that is an option. One alternative is to actually just connect our computers like what you see today, and to deliver training in this manner in such a way that those sessions can actually be recorded. Right? So any kind of questions that you might ask during the training sessions, that can be recorded, and we can send it over to you, and you'll have that for future reference if you ever come across the same questions that you might have during training. So when we're thinking about the benefits that the Great Southern Bank did experience, we need to remember that the old process was a paper process, and the paper would get lost, and they didn't know what stage the process would actually be at. So automating that process meant that there would be almost no risk of losing those paper documents. So that was pretty important for them. The new accounts are basically now entered through a more automated process. So they are first entered into a database that then feeds into Microsoft SharePoint, and then from Microsoft SharePoint that would then be fed into Dundas Dashboard. So this gives them full insight into the entire process of a new account opening. Now, of course, customers would be satisfied with what they're changing here about the account opening process. Obviously, for a bank to lose your papers, that's kind of dissatisfying. And what we're seeing here is that the fact that they are able to keep track of the documents lets them know if there ever has been perhaps an error, let's say, and they're able to address it before it becomes a real issue. So what we're seeing here then with the Great Southern Bank is the fact that you are able to reduce risk and improve satisfaction by better monitoring your processes. So not only is it automating that process, but it's also improving it by giving you better insight into that. And as a result, you are able to have better value with your clients. So really what you see here, all these benefits are industry and business function agnostic. Everything that has been brought up here can apply for your industry or any other industry, really. And if you already have Dundas Dashboard in your organization, what you might think of is actually to expand it into other departments, right? So perhaps if you're currently in sales, you can expand it to be in if you're in finance currently, you can expand it to be in sales. And really the key here is the fact that everything is again centralized, right? And so you don't necessarily need to have sort of that full initial capital investment. Depending on your setup, it could be as simple as building out a new dashboard and adding new viewer licenses, and that's all that you need. If you don't already have Dundas Dashboard, then we can certainly work with you on how to articulate this kind of return on investment, in terms of how you can reduce costs or reduce or improve insights or maximize satisfaction here. So that really brings us to the end of our webinar today. I'll be happy to answer any questions that anybody would have. Okay, it seems like we have no questions for today, and so at this time I'd like to thank you very much for your attention, and again, you can reach us at these numbers here and at this email here. Thank you so much for your time today. Take care, everybody.